they did put those mirrors on the moon that we can bounce lasers off. You're saying, well, they didn't need the mirrors. We could bounce a laser off the moon anyway. Okay, fine.
You actually can't prove that there's mirrors up there and you can bounce a laser off of it.
Okay, but that's not the point we're getting at. Andrew said...
Well, that is the point, because you're claiming something that you can't prove.
Yep.
That's the whole point. Shouldn't do that.
Okay.
So they specifically went to a certain place on the moon. I'm just trying to steel man your position, your statement for a moment. And I've had this conversation with people in the past, so don't worry about it. So you're saying that they put mirrors on the moon specifically so that they could bounce a laser and then determine something? Sounds kind of weird. Is that what you're saying?
You know what? I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Okay. Because they were doing this laser bounce before the moon landings allegedly happened.
Right.
And something like that.
And how many miles away did it say that it was?
I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It does matter.
All right. I guess it matters then. I lose, you win.
No, I don't. Yeah. Oh, no, I'll say that. I win. Yeah, I definitely don't. Of course I don't. Because I'm not
I was trying to steer in a different direction and get away from the debate and the debate aspect of things and just go towards like you know what I mean, like a discussion and like just like figure out like, because I don't know, if you believe something, like who the fuck am I to tell you, you know? Like that's kind of how I look at like religions and everything else and like world beliefs. It's like, who am I to say you're fucking wrong because it doesn't match up with, you know, what I or whatever it might be. It's like I can't prove what you're claiming to be real, you know, and you can't prove it either. And I have that understanding. So, you know, just give it that level of like, I don't know, openness, I guess, whatever. It's like, why would you accept if you're gonna say like, oh, I could prove it? I'm gonna say, all right, well then go ahead, prove it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, yeah, well I believe it, it's like, all right, well that's your belief. And then I'm just kind of curious as to why.
Yeah, I would normally agree with you, but in some regard, some people are going to come forward and say certain things that a lot of people have counter evidence to, and they hold an emotional attachment to it, such as the moon landing or flat Earth, globe Earth, or Bigfoot or religion. These
or don't bring Bigfoot up again, bloody hell.
Yeah, but who cares if people have an emotional attachment to things in their head?
Well, I don't really care. I'm just trying to bring up the fact that because sometimes they don't even know they have the emotional attachment.
Like
But
the
then you bring
cognitive.
it up.
So when they start crying about something, it's our responsibility to now make fun of them.
No.
Yes.
Well,
I don't know if that's
not
necessarily true, but okay.
Definitely, because what else are you going to do? You're going to try to help them? You're going to try to help them out of their problem, their situation, their misunderstanding, their inability to use their own brain? Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's better to make fun of them.
I'm not.
It's definitely funnier
to be disrespectful to anyone that has a counter position to something that I currently understand. But I will at least acknowledge it and then say, here is the evidence. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. And then I just move on.
Okay, Andrew, yeah. But we've been through this, that whatever evidence I might have isn't good enough. And I openly said, blah, 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 yeah, I'm useless and I can't remember the evidence. Right. And this is before you arrived into the chat. So my thing is, well, where is your evidence of a flat Earth, of a localized moon and a localized sun and blah, blah, blah? Where's your evidence of it?
I think I gave it, right? I think I did a decent job of giving it. Like, it's the starting point, right? Of the experience.
Did you?
So everything yeah.
Yeah, he said water.
I tried to do it with water, so you could understand where I'm coming from.
All right.
It's like, all right, if everything we're gonna do, like how we understand flat and horizontal is gonna be based on this metric of water, right? I'm just gonna go with that metric of water. And I'm gonna say, all right, if you need this to change to match a different theory or idea, I'm gonna say, what changes it? when, how, right? I'm going to ask all those questions. And when those don't add up, I'm just going to reject the notion, of it, bending in the first place or curving in the first place. I'm going to say, well, I can't experience that. Never have experienced it. Therefore, I'm just going to basically ignore it. I'm not going to treat it as fact.
Yeah, we've gone full circle, haven't we?
Yeah, there's no escaping. You can't have a ball covered in more than 70% flat water.
But if the ball is
Did you say
24,000,
but?
yeah, but yeah,
But if the ball.
but if the ball is 24,000 miles in circumference, then yeah, there are. Oh God, I can't do it because I'll sound like an idiot and I won't get it right. But
Now, see, now shouldn't the truth just be so easy to explain and not make you sound like a complete buffoon? It's really weird, right? How this truth that you're trying to get out just won't come out right.
It is easy to explain, but when you're ready,
when it comes to explaining it, it's difficult.
Listen,
I get it.
Let me finish your thought. Right. It is easy to explain, but when you're anticipating being sort of ambushed by questions you know that are coming, and when you're not as intelligent, I'm talking about myself here, by the way, not anybody else. But when you're not as intelligent as like Brian Cox or DeGrasse Tyson, or anybody with a decent IQ, but it is hard. It is difficult when you're waiting to be ambushed. And I know that you're not trying to ambush me, or certainly Rigger isn't, because he literally did just say that let's not ambush the guy. So, but it is hard. Yeah, it's difficult.
See, and now you're just talking about being ambushed instead of actually explaining.
Well, I am second guessing every which way I should explain it because I anticipate the forthcoming questions, right?
And that's why I wanted to move away from the formal debate type thing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, you guys do what you want. I'm not trying to dictate anything.
Yeah. I mean, look, actually, it doesn't. Why did I hear this expression? I can't remember, but it doesn't change the way mustard tastes, does it? You believe it's flat, I believe it's a globe. At the end of the day, a hot dog is a hot dog. So, who cares?
I mean, I wouldn't eat a hot dog, so.
I would eat a globe dog. Oh, that was a shit joke. I'm sorry. Yeah, you might not eat a hot dog. You might eat a corn dog or something. You might be vegetarian.
What would a globe dog be? A globe dog to me would be like a flat piece of meat that somebody's telling me is round. Is a ball. That's what a globe dog to me would be. Honestly, when I think of globe dog, that's what pops in my head.
A globe dog. Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe, but it would have to be. I'm thinking of one of those, like, those massive sausages that are like circular.
A patty.
Nah, that's a burger, isn't it?
Well, yeah. That's what it sounded like you were describing.
No, like the big sausages and they're curly. And it's got weird now. Now we're talking about. Actually, I'd rather talk about sausages than
sausage.
Well,
Whose sausage you were trying to talk
You went from
about?
NASA to sausages? How the fuck did that happen?
Why do we know that Jupiter's going to be at that particular point in the sky?
Don't bring up like 5 points and then ask.
Sorry.
One at a time, please.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Like the telescope thing's fine, man. Honestly, it's easy to like think this way if you've never really practiced like going through it and being very critical about it. So look, you get a telescope, you look up at the sky, you're gonna see the same exact observations that a geocentrist sees. Tycho Brahe would have looked through his telescopes at all the planets and everything that they do, and seen the same stuff you see, bro, and been like, yeah, it definitely moves around us, right? The stuff that you said about scientists is also fine because 99.9 whatever percent of scientists that work in any space within aerospace or adjacent to aerospace do not have any say in the matter, nor are they privy to the direct information that would be able to tell someone for sure whether that stuff's true or not. Right? It's like professors who work in universities, and they work with material science, and they help develop heat resistant materials and circuits for robots, and like they don't know what's in space, they're just making parts. And then you have people who are working on all the other assemblies, like it's all compartmentalized anyway. There's a tiny super tiny fraction of the actual scientific community over all the generations that have been since NASA's been incepted that have anything to do with direct information streams that would be able to discern the truth of the matter. They can all believe it. They can all believe it, and they just cannot know what they're talking about because they don't actually know.
I can bring up a point. When you said, you got scientists, you got teams of people working on in a small unit, and then they don't really know what's happening on the upper hand. I can give you a good example. Was it like 7-8 years ago? There was a rocket launch failure, went to space, and a kaboom. And the problem was, it's interesting. So the code was used, the code written. There's a problem with the code, basically. So here's the thing. If the developer didn't know, let's say the developer was told, just write some code, which is we're going to use it for the satellite, okay, for this rocket. It goes up, and then we're going to use it, okay? I think it was one of the Elon Musk ones, yeah. I think one of the Elon Musk ones, yeah. If this team writing the code, or just writing some code which has no bearing at the end, because at the end it's just some magic or some, here's what I'm saying. It's going to be used in a simulation, okay? Then nothing would fail. Well, hang on. Nothing would fail. But in this instance, because of the bug in the code, rocket crashed. What it was is that the integer the developer used was, I think, big integer, which is like 64 bits, if I'm not mistaken. The calculations went beyond the limit of the limit of that variable. Therefore, start causing wrong calculation. Because of those wrong calculations, the rocket crashed. It was known for a long time in our community. We're like, okay, make sure when you write your code, you calculate the integers correctly. But as a developer, that person would say, oh shit. You see, you might not be directly interact with the team. Whatever you produce will be used, and that whatever you produce can have effects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so there's multiple layers. You need to peel back in like the assumptive statement you made. So there's several different layers. So number one, right, the assumption that the reason that this rocket exploded, we even know, right? All we have is, hey, a rocket blew up, and this is what they told us as to why. Number two, hold on. Number two, the reason that this rocket blew up, right, is somehow logically attached to the idea that space is exactly what they say it is, right? Also doesn't follow. Number three, that the reason that this rocket exploded, right, had something to do not with aerodynamics and coefficients of ballistics and drag and friction and thermals, but would somehow point to some conclusion that would yield heliocentrism. Right?
No. That's you're all over the place. Okay.
Hold on. And then number 4, right? That somehow rocket launches are mutually exclusive to a framework in which what NASA says is true. Like these things don't follow, right? It's possible for all those premises to be wrong and for them to still launch rockets.
Okay, so you make some interesting assumptions. You said it was told, but the reason it failed was because of that. Okay, so what happened? The rocket went up. Okay, suddenly when it's trying to land, wait, when it tried to land, okay, the rocket lost its balance. And then when the RCA came out, the root cause analysis came out, guess what? It was exactly because of that. The rocket lost its balance because of that very specific routine in the code. It was causing the issue. So no assumptions. There's no, how do we know? We know this because of the evidence, because the data came back. We're like, oh shit, this part returned wrong. Wait a second. So there's no assumption, there's no heliosyn, there's nothing. This rocket went up. Okay. On the way back, it crashed. Why did it crash? Because of this very specific reason. We have the evidence for it. Shit, yes, because of this part of the code, this thing crashed.
Okay, buddy. Like I said,
this is Elon. I'm pretty 99.99%. This is the Elon one. I will dig into the code again and the actual story behind it.
That's fine, bro. Like it could be that the reason that they gave you is entirely true, and it could be the reason they gave you is not true. In both cases, it does not follow that just because a rocket blew up, that the Earth is orbiting the sun. Like, do you understand that those ideas are disconnected and disjointed?
I'm not saying that. You're saying that people do not communicate with each other. They to different compartments and whatnot. That's not necessarily the case. They work towards the same goal.
You're taking.
There will be consequences.
Hold on. I gotta correct you, bro. You're taking my statements out of their proper context in which I'm intending them to be interpreted.
Correct me then. I have not.
Yeah. So I was saying that the scientists that work on all this stuff, right? 99.99 whatever number percent of them, almost all of them, are working on some disjointed, compartmentalized segment of the mission. Very few of them are privy to the direct information streams that would tell them the truth of the matter as to whether there was some mutually exclusive reason why we are orbiting the sun and why the NASA version of outer space and our solar system is true. You understand? Like, they could all be 99.99999% of them, they could be working on the rocket bodies, they could be working on the flight paths, the analysis of the trajectories, the ballistic, all of it. They could do all that, and every single one of them believe NASA's not lying about anything. It's all true. They could believe it all. And it doesn't mean any of them actually know. The only people who would actually know are a very, very small group of people who deal with the direct data and information streams in an unmanipulated format in such a way that they can actually deduce that. Everybody else doesn't actually know. They're just trusting what they're told, and it makes sense because they already believe it, so they have no reason to assume otherwise. Launching metal objects into the sky does not require outer space and heliocentrism.
Unless you're confirming how high you're launching, right?
The way that they confirm that is through the GPS network that they also maintain, which nobody is able to see inside the black box. And in fact, you can't even use a civilian GPS receiver to go above about 150,000 feet because it locks you out because of ITAR regulations, and they say it's for national security. They don't want to be able to use it for an ICBM launch. So in order to even go above 150,000 feet with GPS, you have to get like a military grade, government approved, DoD approved, ITAR approved GPS module, get access to it, and then be able to put it on there. Anything that launches up into the sky, you have to give them a parts list. Every part has to be approved for them to put it into a rocket in order to allow it to be sent into the atmosphere. There's a whole chain of stuff that goes into all of that. And
no, it's funny.
So go ahead.
You're not describing a free market there. You're describing something more akin to slavery.
I don't know if I can right in a way.
My question is, how high in the atmosphere do you have to go before the Earth that's traveling 66,000 miles an hour leaves you behind, which has never happened?
Well, I will say you're extremely right about the ITAR stuff, dude. I just actually started at this defense company not long ago doing aerospace stuff, and yeah, I had to go through all that clearance check. Like they're really big about, like, motherfuckers are getting fired and walked out in the building just for leaving the door cracked open. Like they're so strict on the amount of clearance and information sharing, like even to the point where the security camera system in the building, because we're here located in the US and so much of the electronics are developed out in China, we have to get specially cleared through the Defense Department camera systems just for security inside the building.
Yeah, and if you work at a big org, they have an entire organization that will analyze every piece of software, including firmware that comes on every piece of hardware into the facility. Yeah, I mean, it's like crazy, but yeah, it's people just think it's like, oh, well, in order for your conspiracy to be true, everyone would have to be in on it, and no one would ever have to tell the secret of the why. It's like, no, bro, none of them know.
Hold on, Santa Claus. Yeah, perfect example. Everyone's in on it. Everyone's lying. Everyone that knows that they're lying knows that they're lying, and they're lying on purpose.
Yeah, but in this case, most people don't know.
But it's compartmentalized, though, because nobody knows where the real true North Pole is, according to, where Santa's reindeer get kept. Nobody knows any of this, right? It's all compartmentalized. Only the DOD knows where the reindeer are kept.
It's funny because people they selectively don't want to believe in information classification and compartmentalization when it suits them in this matter, right? As if, all the secrets that the government has that nobody knows any of them, we don't know 99% of the secrets the government has because they're very effective at keeping secrets because that's how the whole system works. Yet you want to act like when it comes to this secret, it would have to be public and everyone would have to know about it.
No, hold on a
Not
second.
any of the other ones.
I do agree with you guys for the most part, but it's a little more, it's deeper than that. Every organization, whether it's the government or not, they are going to be paying people, and those people are going to be told certain things, and like, okay, we have to tell the public this because of something, and those companies get sued in a lot of circumstances. Class action lawsuits happen, but it's very difficult to do that with the government. And when it comes to, they're getting paid very high amounts of money to keep their mouths shut, because if they do spill the beans, quote unquote, then, metaphorically speaking, then what happens is they can lose their job and it can fuck things up, or just keep quiet and keep earning that paycheck. And I think that's what happens with a lot of different companies. NVIDIA is one of them, along with 3M. And I can go on. There's multiple class action lawsuits that have happened recently, but those are the two I can think of at the moment. And I wasn't included in 3M, the class action lawsuit.
Hey, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Andrew, there's no way that a large corporation could hide something from the public right under our nose. Oh, wait, didn't Intel just get in trouble for hiding processor chips inside of another processor chip to backdoor everybody's computers to spy on them?
Wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, I understand. I get the point.
They had an ARM chip embedded underneath the processor, something like that backdoors everybody's computers in the world.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be NASA. But NASA is associated.
That's for the Alphabet boys, right? And then they got caught, and then they just blame
Alphabet. There's Alphabet Corporation, which owns
Google. I
mean
the agencies, the government agencies. I call them the Alphabet boys, CIA, FBI, NSA.
Oh, the three-letter industries. Okay.
Yeah, because they have like it's like an endless view of fucking acronyms.
Well, most of them aren't government entities, though. It's funny, though, right? Back to the same thing. Well, right. CIA was started by attorneys. Attorneys are a subsidiary. They work for a whole subsidiary, so they're not even directly attached to the government at all. So, how do you attach something that's never attached?
Well, like I think it's incredibly important for people like who are thinking about these things, like especially if they're on like the globe side still or the normie side, or even if they're on the fence, right? It's like incredibly important to just completely kick out and throw in the trash can that thought process that tells you, oh, there's no way they could be lying, right? Because that's just a way to shut your brain down from preventing you from thinking critically about any of it. That is not helping.
Well, it's called gaslighting.
It's not necessarily could they lie. It's are they lying? Yeah, probably.
Well, that's the next question. But they stop it could, bro.
Yeah, don't. That's the question that really irritates me. Like, well, why would they lie? Like, I don't care. Are they lying? You don't ask a psychopath why they're lying. Or say, it's just, did they lie?
A better question is, when have they not?
That too.
Yeah.
But
when have you known them to be honest?
When you actually focus on the question, who would know? Like, okay, let's say that the mainstream like version model of outer space and the cosmos is a big fat lie. Okay, let's say it's a lie. If it was a lie, who would know? And when I say no, I'm using in terms of like absolutely objectively, like they have the capability to go up there and measure it and see physically firsthand that they're lying, right? Who would know in that way? There would be a very small number of people, okay? The people that would know would be the U.S. military, like, and when I say the military, I mean like obviously people that are at the very top involved directly in this stuff. So a very small number of people in the military.
That's
the DOD.
you, yeah. That's you.
You would have the companies that actually do rocket launches into like, these orbits and stuff to drop off satellites. Okay. Those people would know. But only, once again, people at the very top in these mega corporations. So you've got like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin type companies, small segments of people in those companies, which are all tied in with the CIA and Alphabet people anyway, right? And you would have small numbers of people in the space agencies. And that would really be it, because everybody else, even people who are in like private contracting companies who help make contract parts and equipment systems and stuff for them, they wouldn't know. They don't actually fly the rockets up there. People who make CubeSat systems, who actually launch amateur CubeSats, they wouldn't know. They just build a CubeSat with approved equipment on it, and they give it to the rocket company, and the rocket company flies it up there and kicks it out. Okay, so they wouldn't know either. It would only be the people who actually make and launch the flight bodies themselves and directly operate the satellite networks themselves who would know, and the government.
It's an interesting thing.
Like certain designers. It would only even be certain designers, and then like the overall like project leads, because you could even the designers, you could just compartmentalize that. I mean, that's pretty much how industries work to begin with. So it would just be down to like need to know, and if you don't completely need to know, and they can figure out a way to keep you out of it. I mean, they're gonna. That's just
to be clear, when look, I'll give you an example. Okay, when America was making like all these crazy weapon systems for like in like World War II, when they came out with like nuclear weapons, and then they've done the same thing every time there's been new weapon systems like fighter jets and ballistic missiles. Like every time they do it, they do the same thing. But I'll just use the historical example because it's the most well known. There's like a million videos on YouTube about it. They say that back in those days when they were building these weapons, they had like entire plants like manufacturing the chemicals, doing the chemistry, doing the engineering, producing all the raw materials, producing the assemblies, and nobody except a handful of people even knew what they were doing. They just knew, they were told, you're going to run this machine. Here's the numbers it needs to put out. You're going to take your product and give it to this person. And then the next person in the chain was like, this person's going to give you a product. You're going to bring it over here and give it to this person. And that person's like, hey, you're going to have a product. You're going to cut it into this shape. That's all they knew, bro. They did not know what they were making. None of them, except like a fraction of a percent that knew what was going on. Nobody knew what they were doing. And if they could do that, right, back then, all through the 60s, up through the 80s, until today, like that's, you got to get it through your head that just because there's people working to build stuff doesn't mean that they know what's going on. Once you accept that, it makes perfect sense as to how they're able to do this and still lie to everybody.
Any big project you're on, like even when you're building, even something as simple as like a Navy ship, you can ask your boss, like, oh, what's this for? He'd be like, I don't know. And he'd have to go, check the print number, reference the master print, and all that other nonsense just to figure out what the piece is for. And they could just write it in, They could write in whatever they want it to be.
Yeah, well, even more simplistically, because I've worked in construction for quite some time, and I've built houses and commercial buildings, industrial, and the list goes on. But I don't give a flying fuck about what the other trades are doing because I'm focusing on what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's how that is essentially compartmentalization. I'm assuming that they know what they're doing, and they assume that I know what I'm doing. And then there's the overall hierarchy of it, which is the foreman, which I've been multiple times, and then there's the superintendent, and then there's also the company owner, engineers, the architects, and and the list, the inspectors. And it's like, yeah, it's just one big project. But does everyone know everything about the project? No.
Half the time, the architect doesn't even know. Like I've asked architects and designers on job sites, like, oh, what's this for? Like, what should I be worried about? I go, I don't know. Like, where the hell is it going? Oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, I didn't make it. I didn't design that. It's not my work. I'm just, out here giving it to you.
Yeah, but meanwhile, people use the excuse of NASA. Like, well, I got into a pretty heated argument with one of my coworkers several years ago. He said, well, my dad was responsible for machining some of the stuff that was part of the space station. I'm sorry, I don't know, the space shuttle. I was like,
that means like nothing.
What are you talking about? And he got super pissed off. Like I was being disrespectful to his father or something.
Yeah, like it's some level of prestige because you worked on something that, contributed to something else that was grand. It's like, no, dude, just did my job. So it's not that big of a deal.
They got professors all over the country working at universities scattered throughout the United States who have worked on, who are, high up in like the engineering departments within their respective university, who NASA like reaches out to help design and produce parts for missions and stuff. And so those people think like, oh, I helped to make this part for this rocket launch or for this rover or for this probe or for this station, right? Like I worked on that, my team, and I even used graduate students to help the process, and they get to put their name on it. And people think that they've like made parts for Pluto probes and Mars rovers and all this stuff. And it's like, just because you made a part doesn't mean that that part went to Mars or to Pluto or that any of it's real. You just did some engineering. That's all you did.
Well, a lot of people make parts for a lot of different things. That doesn't mean they actually know what they're going and being used for. They're just giving some schematics and a diagram and like, here, machine this.
It's difficult to argue with these people's paychecks, though, Andrew. That's what I find, that if they're getting paid for these things, it's a very tough place to start from if you're trying to counter the validity of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that and if they have an ego or they're prideful in what they do, where they feel a sense of
prestige.
like I'm working for this. I'm launching a satellite now. I'm getting my come up now. It's like, what, are you trying to take me down with your nonsense? I'm getting paid.
Yeah, that's a very
all
valid
the
point.
time out in the field. Like you guys will like weld a certain component, and they're like, "Oh, I'm building nuclear submarines." I'm like, dude, you're welding 2 pieces of metal together. Get over it. Like, what are you on about? You're not even X-ray. You're not even on the hull. Like, you're doing some fucking nonsense shit. But people do. They take a sense in that. Like, like they're part of the reason why it.
Hey, bro,
do you think the worst thing is when they
nuclear power is not a conspiracy, bro? Nuclear energy, like that, nuclear energy produces power at power plants. Like that's not a conspiracy.
Do you think the worst thing is when they get commissioned, because they will have a pattern which they have to copy or incorporate into a working thing, and then the company actually says, look, we can do this a little bit better, and now it becomes their technology.
That's not how they get it.
Exactly how that works.
You sign an IP agreement when you get hired. Any IP you come up with that relates anything to the work that the company does, the company takes your IP. It's their IP.
They own it.
You sign that as an employment agreement.
If
no,
an
but what I
engineer,
mean to say,
I'll explain. I'll answer your question. If a company gets hired to develop some sort of a construction project or machine a certain part, it doesn't require a patent. They're just given these schematics and designs and say, here's what we need. We need 500 of these.
But wait. You think they don't actually build these apparatuses that they're making all these parts for? You think they're just not building the satellites, or not building?
It's not a patent requirement.
The probes are not building the equipment.
Correct, they're not.
Yeah, whatever.
I had a buddy whose dad.
But it's very difficult to argue with. It's very difficult to argue with things being pulled out of people's butts. We ought to investigate this and see the chain of custody on things, how it actually.
You're never going to do that.
You missed my point.
On the back of that, I've got a question.
Works, and then you might have an argument, but nobody can argue with what y'all are doing.
You're completely like twisting what was being said. Nobody's saying that they're not building things. We're saying that they are confused because they are building things, and they think that is a valid enough example or reason or excuse for them to say that this is a real event that's happening around it.
Yes, we get.
So
that.
what did they do with that?
Get that. But,
what do they do with the big piece of equipment, the probe that they built? What happens to it?
Who knows, man?
The
guy making screws, the guy making latches, the guy making parts for any of that stuff has no idea what he's doing. I should know.
Yeah.
One of my buddies that I had a falling out with before I stopped being a Glober, we had a big issue here because his dad used to work for those contracts for NASA making machine parts for him. And he had no idea. He never touched anything that it went to. He made the part, put it in a box, and sent it to the address they told him to do.
No,
so left lane, you're full of it.
That doesn't match. There's a chain of custody. There's a chain of custody.
It's all an idea in. It's all like a practice kind of thing. So yes, there are actual people like bolting the bolts and screwing in the screws. Yes, but for what is it? Does it help with engineering or something? Like what is NASA's plan to make the people do that? Because
they still get used to that, bro. Satellites are real. We have satellite networks all over the world. Those work. Like they're real. Okay. Right. They also make stuff that is very useful in extreme environments. A lot of the stuff that they actually do is useful in the realms of material science and materials engineering because they make very ruggedized, vacuum proof, radiation proof, temperature resistant stuff like that. Right. So all that's very useful. It doesn't need to be just in, imaginary outer space land. They still get uses out of their money, but they're not sending robots to Mars or probes to Pluto.
Okay, but the people not pretending to do it, but those engineers and then the people who make it up go, okay, guys, build a robot to go to Mars, and then all these engineers are doing it, not knowing that they aren't really building a robot to go to Mars. What is the mission of the you know, the bigger body, NASA, telling those people to do it.
Who
know
says
what I mean?
build the robot that goes to Mars? Is it like one person?
It's just like the infrastructure in every city, right? Like they have to spend in order to get their budget for the next year. It's all just writing money off, right? You always, like we always talk about all the amounts of money that these organizations are getting paid for this stuff. That's how they stay afloat, and that's how they continually have money, is by all of these businesses and these shell companies that they've made. They run them through the IRS, and then they get tax incentives and all these grants and everything. It's just money. That's all this is just to have the money flowing around so it looks right on the paper. That's it.
So we learn nothing from it. We
like
learn nothing from it.
and to be hired through their ability for grant and proposal writing to be granted money. So, like, for example, you could have a project, hey, I'm going to come out with a novel system that can do this thing, right? And it doesn't actually need to work. You just need to be able to demonstrate enough of a proof of concept to get people to decide, yeah, I'm going to fund this and see if we can make something out of it. And then you might work on it for 2 or 3 years and blow through $20 million, and it turns out it didn't work. But hey, we tried, right? But we got our money. Like, the objective is for you to get funding so people can get paid. Like, that's actually how the government works. If anybody's ever worked in government work, they'll know this. That's not even like a
it's not. It's not even. It's not
development.
even for the betterment of mankind, humankind. It's not even for that.
No,
it's
but that's
not
your pitch.
even
What
a
he's
thought
saying-
experiment.
What he's saying is you create a pitch. Like anytime you want investment in money, you're seeking somebody with money and you're selling them on an idea, right? So the pitch is, hey, look, we can get this for however the hell it is, right? And you pitch the government that and you get funding for it. Doesn't mean like that you succeeded with your goal. It just means that that's why you were getting money in the first place.
Okay, I mean, I understand the thing that the people that are doing the grunt work don't know what they're doing it for, whatever, all that. Yes, I get that. But I mean, Andrew said something earlier that he said, like, people ask, well, why? Why? I don't give an F why. It doesn't matter. This is the way it is. And I'm like, actually, no. I want to know why. He said, like a psychopath. I don't know why a psychopath. I don't want to know why a psychopath might do what he does. I don't give a shit. But actually, no. We might learn more by knowing the reason behind, the government doing what,
Yeah, but you understand how much speculation that involves, right? So it's like you're looking for a definitive answer when it's like, well, there's a lot of speculation in here because if we don't have access to that, privy to the information needed to know.
But what I'm saying is, we maybe should ask the question. We should maybe ask the question why. Like what? Yeah, what? We should ask the question why.
You get the concept, right? The concept of compartmentalization, right? And we're saying like how few people would know to begin with. And now you're like, well, why? It's like, well, you're asking for what those few you're asking for the information that those few people are privy to. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no,
like we can speculate all day.
No, but what I'm saying is the why. Why are we then?
Right.
Are we being oppressed by NASA and the government and stuff? Are we?
If you don't think you're being oppressed by your government, I don't know.
Why do people lie? People lie for control over a situation or control over a narrative, control over your thought.
Money, power, fame.
They tell you something to send you somewhere else, right? You're on a path of information, of truth seeking, and then they tell you a lie, and they send that lie turns you into another direction because they don't want you to continue on the path that you're on. Because you may find something out. That's usually why people lie. So it's all for control.
Well, that comes down to incredulity, though, right? So every rebuttal we have, the only thing the Glovers have to answer is, well, I don't believe that. There's no way that's all incredulity. Like, come on, man. You can't believe something, but then you believe something that you haven't ever been able to prove. So it's like, it's the weirdest position for a Glober to be in.
Okay, well, don't necessarily quickly associate that type of a explanation towards a Glober or flat earther or anything else. It's just a logical type of a way to explain something, which is, well, why would they lie? Who cares? Like, did they lie? And once you find that out, then you can move forward with the logical explanation as to why, what was the motive. And
yeah, I think it's easier to understand when you say you make it analogous with murder, right? Does it matter why the person murdered somebody? It doesn't matter, is it actually?
Well, the thing is, but the compartmentalization argument is pure speculation. There's no evidence or proof of that.
Whoa, dude! I mean, that's just hand waving all the proof existing.
Yeah, there's military people that come home and they can't tell their wife.
Right.
Literally, somebody just told you the military, dude. Like, look at the ranking system. That's compartmentalization alone in itself.
Can you show me the evidence that NASA is compartmentalized?
Classification. That's a compartmentalization, right? Clearance for certain information. That's classification. That's compartmentalization. Are you denying these things?
That's nothing to do with what we're talking about. NASA compartmentalizing the engineers such that what they're making and building doesn't actually go to space.
They don't have they don't not doing it and not compartmentalizing. Think of the amount of resources you need. You need every engineer on that project, every architect, every designer, every project lead, every foreman, all to sit in on the same meetings and go through the same information together. So they're all on the same page and all understand every single department's workload. That just doesn't happen. That's what you would need, though, to get away from compartmentalization. You would need all these teams sitting together and going over it at the same time.
That's very well said. In regards to construction, which I have, again, a vast amount of experience in, even a large project, like when I built I was a electrical foreman on building an Intel building here in Silicon Valley. There was, I think, 3 engineers and a couple of architects that were associated with that project. Do you think the architects and the engineers and the foremen and superintendents knew every single thing? Fuck no, they didn't. That's why we had to ask them. We had meetings about this. It was a 3-year project. And, yeah, that's called compartmentalization. And if someone says that, oh, yeah, NASA doesn't do that, then I'm going to say, you're a fucking idiot.
There's no way to have a budget.
It's not an argument. It's not an argument, though.
He's a liar, because he's saying the thing that we actually know exists in reality doesn't exist. He's just a bald-faced liar.
There you go. There it is.
You're saying it doesn't exist, but then example after example after example after example, from civilian to military to government, it doesn't exist. You're just lying.
I didn't say it doesn't exist. I said, where's the evidence? I hear a lot of speculation, but I don't see the evidence.
Everywhere.
What do you mean you don't see the evidence? The patrolman on the street doesn't know what the chief of police knows about the crime gang units going on, what's going on, what raids are going to be done. That's all compartmentalization. So you're saying it can't be done at the top, even though it's done at the very bottom with the secretary that works at your local library. Get out of here.
But what are you asking for? The evidence would just be in the blueprints alone. Just the blueprints. Like, you look at what someone hands off a print. Okay, does that blueprint match the master print? No. No, it's just
you got to look at the chain of custody and follow the chain of custody from the point of manufacturing or even acquisition of the contract and then follow that chain of custody throughout the build of the craft and to the launch, and see if there's any way that it could be compartmentalized such that they actually built a satellite, but they didn't send it to space.
No, what I'm trying to explain to you is the build process, right? The build process. If somebody gets handed a detail, that detail is not a blueprint, right? It's just a little caption of part of a print. And then the overall print isn't the actual master print, right? It doesn't have everything that the master print has. Like that in itself, just the blueprints they hand out are compartmentalized.
But that thing,
you're saying
what you're saying there, that part of it
aren't compartmentalized. Well, that's
incoherent. That part of it, but that part of it doesn't mean that they didn't actually build the apparatus and send it to space.
That's not the argument. The argument is everything is compartmentalized. Now
that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm focusing on. The build of it.
I just proved it, and now you're running
No, you did. I didn't prove anything. You said words. I'm talking about the build of an apparatus, a satellite that they send to space, and following the chain of custody and all that, and right up to the point that it's supposed to be put in the nose of a rocket and sent to space.
Yeah, you keep saying that we have to know that it went somewhere, but you don't.
Right. Is it like, do you think that like the engineers that create or, like conceptualize a design, is it like take your kid to work day? Like you think that they're going to hold hands with the satellite as it gets launched? Like, oh, there it goes. I'm sending my baby off. I'm confirming it's getting picked up by the school bus to go to school. Like, no, there's no
compartment to compartment. You'll end up with the people that are loading the thing on the nose of the spacecraft. And
engineers don't know how to do anything other than just engineer. So like, why would they be allowed
to? Good argument. It's not an argument because all y'all do is pull stuff out your ass.
Now, is it possible to make up a chain of command?
Like literally go to any job and try to follow the work as it goes through the building, whatever the manufacturing facility is. And even your own supervisor is going to tell you, go back to your fucking department. Like, you're not going to follow the piece of equipment from stage to stage to stage as it's being manufactured. There's literally compartmentalization in manufacturing itself. You're going to have one guy doing one thing. That's all he knows about that part. And then he's going to send it to the next guy. And then they're going to do their little specialized protocol on the part and then send it off. But I'm saying, but the engineer themselves sit in the rooms on the computers and design the blueprints. They're not doing that. They're not even allowed. They don't know how to run the machines that cut the parts or bend the part. They don't know any of that. All they know how to is design and engineer something. So I don't know why you think that
you're getting trolled, dude. I don't know why you think
they encompass the entire process.
I'm not saying I think anything. I'm just saying that we should maybe do a little bit more detailed argument instead of just making stuff up.
Yeah, like you should make an argument.
I know, bro. You said that. How do we know it didn't go to space? How do you know it did? You don't know. My buddy his dad used to make parts in his shop for NASA, shipped directly to wherever they had him send them. He had no idea. He never touched the craft that it went on. He never touched anything. He just made the part to spec and shipped it. You're saying, well, he's supposed to know what he's building. But you're lying, because that's not how it works. In reality.
I'm not making a claim to be lying, Cuddles. Quit calling me a fucking liar.
Well, Left Lane, your claim is that they're not lying, right? Because they're asking why would they lie. You're saying they're not lying. So can you make the argument for why wouldn't they lie?
I didn't say they're not lying. I'm just saying we should have a better argument other than speculation.
So there's a possibility that they're lying about all of this to you.
Of course,
hold on. He just said the compartmentalization is speculation, even though it's literally the military's model.
No, that's not it, Guddles. You're speculating that they are compartmentalizing.
That's what they do.
That they're not actually launching these apparatus into space.
Okay. Hold on. So I got this one.
To happen.
when Martin Luther King was murdered, they didn't compartmentalize who murdered him. They didn't lie about that for 3 decades. There was a very small group of government agents that actually knew what happened.
Don't switch
What color
topics,
shoes
please.
did you have on that day?
Plans went out.
Please don't. No,
Engineers
we're
made
not
the
switching
plans for
Hold
the
topics.
on,
plan.
Hold on
Red
a
Herring,
second.
hold on. I gotta moderate for a moment.
We're not switching
Don't-
topics.
Yeah, don't detract onto something like that.
Well,
Stick
I
on.
looked it up. I looked it up and it says that NASA is compartmentalized, especially for national security information, and then they work with the DoD.
It has to be, dude. Like,
So
just
I don't
think
know
of
what
it.
you're
Just
talking
think
about.
of the workers. The
It's not
workers
speculation.
alone. Yeah, the workers alone. Like, not everybody gets handed a master print. You need the master print to know the whole project. If you don't have the master print, you don't know what the fuck it is. You just know the section of the print you got.
Wait,
And
so you mean that the Chinese screw makers don't know why they're making screws?
Well, they don't know where the screws are going.
They know that why they're making them. They're making
what
them
the
to
chain of
make
command?
money. That's why they're making them.
Yeah. Yeah, the chain of command would be put the screws in the box and send them over to shipping.
Yeah,
You get an invoice
That's
out.
what
Know
I'm
the
talking
address
about.
that they're getting sent to. But the
That's
guy
what
Why
I'm
is there a
talking
chain of
about.
command if there's no compartmentalization?
It's not chain of command, chain of custody. Follow the parts.
Yeah, so shipping and receiving. Okay.
Then who does that go to, and then where does it go from there?
What does that have to do with the screw maker? And saying that screw maker is part of that same department.
You follow the parts till they load it on the craft and send it into space.
Yeah, this is the problem.
What
He's
does that
having
have to
incredulity
do
with
with
the fact that
screwmaker?
he's having a problem with the fact that they told him that they're building something. And there's people giving orders to build parts, and he's having the problem with the fact that the parts aren't making the thing that he was told that they were making in the first place.
I don't know why you keep straw manning me like that. I'm not making an argument here.
He just said,
I'm saying
how do you
maybe
know
should,
it's not going into space?
You're just gonna talk right over the top of me. I'm just saying you should develop a little bit different argument, because what y'all are currently doing is just speculation.
See, that's because you
What
reject
part?
the whole manufacturing process. That's fine. You could do that, but it doesn't mean there's not a coherent argument, right?
No,
You're
have him
just saying,
prove it.
no, this isn't how construction and manufacturing works. The guy making the screws always knows,
I didn't say that.
and the designer of the screw will know exactly. He'll have the tracking code at all times and know all stages of this screw. That's just not the case.
Not the manufacturer, but there is a chain of custody that will follow the development and build of a satellite. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Now, see,
you're
the
saying the
problem,
final
though-
product.
Oh, the
saying
problem
the final
though
product.
with talking about satellites is when you speak about when you're talking about satellites, it's always speculation because satellites can't be proven to be real.
Oh, I could look up and see them. I can see them with my own eye.
Wait, did you say you can look up and you can see satellites?
Yeah, I've probably got a bad signal through here.
I could have swore he said he saw him with his eye.
Yeah, so you look up, you see some lights in the sky, and then you assume that's a satellite?
Yeah, lights ripping across the sky.
Well,
So
yeah,
lights
no.
ripping across the sky are satellites. Gotcha.
So somebody told him that's what it was.
Yeah. He didn't confirm that a satellite got put up in the sky. He didn't watch it. He just did.
Oh, you can take pictures of it. You can actually
you can take
pictures
pictures
of
of it. Holy shit.
While it's up there, but you can't confirm what it is or how it got up there.
Well, hold on, you got a picture of the call sign down the side of the craft? The identifying
No,
tag?
we're deviating here. We're deviating.
No,
from
you're
the
deviating
discussion
here.
about-
You got a picture of a craft we can't identify.
Okay, top right over.
And you saying you know what it is, but
I don't know.
You know what it is.
He saw it with his eyes.
You could develop this argument to be more significant than what it is.
Yeah, I know you could too.
I'm
This is a
asking for
lot of
evidence.
speculation. I saw lights in the sky as a pretty weak argument.
I'm not talking about seeing lights in the sky. I'm talking about the original argument that you could develop this compartmentalization argument down to some factual details that may support your argument.
Which part isn't factual? Go ahead, prove something.
Yeah.
You're not
Show us
showing a chain of
compartmentalization
custody.
isn't real.
You're
Show
not
us that
following the bill.
compartmentalization doesn't exist.
That doesn't mean we didn't go to space, though.
Come to my. How about this? Come to my job where I build parts that go on Amazon satellites, and try to follow that satellite piece to another location where it goes to get assembled, and see what they tell you when you show up there, saying, "Hey,
So
I built this. I'm
we
going to
can't
watch it."
That would be proof. That would be some evidence
They
in
would laugh
support of
you
your
out.
argument. But you're saying what you're
Okay.
saying is we can't do that, though. So we can't
No,
actually confirm that what you're saying is true.
No, you can. I'm telling you right now, and that's why they have the ITAR organization, like Guy mentioned earlier. The reason why that organization exists, it's not speculation. It's an actual organization. I'm a fucking member of it. I have to be a member of it because I make parts that are sensitive with information.
Okay, I'll back out. That's basically all I was saying. I wasn't making an argument. I was just making a suggestion.
That something went to space because you were told so. Cool, but that's not what your argument was. Your argument was that we were wrong, and you have proof that there's no compartmentalization, that everybody in the chain of custody of that part knows exactly what it's going to, and they get to watch it and stuff. And that's not what happens.
All of that, which is not any of what I said.
Okay, cool, but you keep jumping to the thing being built and being sent to outer space, but that's not your argument. Your argument is that we're wrong about the compartmentalization. So where's your proof?
No, it didn't say you was wrong. They didn't say you was wrong.
Then what are you even talking about then, bro? Because that's all you've been doing is saying we're wrong.
I'm talking about a weak argument. It is not compelling, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Prove
I have
it.
to jump in for just a moment here. Okay, every single company that I have ever been aware of, small or big, has compartmentalization. Let's just go with something very Walmart. Do the cashiers know what the people on the loading docks are doing? Do the loading dock people know what they're actually receiving?
Does that mean that they're not selling their product?
Holy shit, are you fucking retarded when I ask? Oh my god.
Man,
yes.
The toxicity, dude. We don't have to call each other names, man. It's like children.
Well,
you're
when you're going to
pretending
say something like that, I'm going to have to respond equally. Okay. Well, when it's compartmentalization, the people working in accounting do not know exactly what is going on with all of the employees, and the employees don't know what's going on with the managers and the delivery truck.
But they still provide their service, right?
Yeah, where's the consumer market for NASA to go to outer space? This is where he's drawing to. Where's the consumer market for NASA to go to outer space?
Okay, I'm just trying to draw a point that in a large location, such as a Walmart or a grocery store or construction or NASA, it doesn't really matter. The point is, there is compartmentalization, and anyone that's going to deny that, I feel very bad for you.
No, I'm not saying there's not compartmentalization. I'm saying it's a weak argument to say that they don't actually launch rockets and go to space.
That's cool. You believe that they do that. And they told you that they did that. But we're trying to prove that that happened, and we can't find any going down the line of who built what.
Well, I mean, you can go and watch a rocket launch. They launch them every week.
Well, hold on now. We're just trying to deal with the parts and see the thing being built out of the parts that we're told that were made for the thing that's being built that you're saying that has already been launched. So it's like we're trying to get from point A to point B, and you're trying to go to point Z already way ahead of us, and we're just trying to stay on that track. So without moving the goalpost, how do we verify this?
I got to get out and start my truck, so I'll be out for a bit.
Yep.
Okay. So if you can at least listen in the background, that would be good.
Yes, I am listening, and I'm not dodging or anything. I got to get my truck fired up.
No,
So I
it
can run.
happens. I get it. I like Discord. I appreciate it way more than listening to the radio, where you hear, "Oh, you want a new mortgage or a Viagra pill or some nonsense like that." That's why I don't listen to the radio anymore. It's been years.
Well, I mean, you do have commercials. To be fair, and to take this as a fun new diving point, we do have Glovers that are advertising for NASA all the time. So
yeah, it's not quite the same. Yeah, they don't have a 1-800 number or something.
Well, I can't turn them off either, right? So it isn't the same.
Well, you can turn off your volume. But
yeah, but then it really makes the live stream, it messes with things.
Trust me, you're turning them off, Cuddles. It's working, whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Well, it's funny, right? We all end up talking through each other about equally, right? But then I just stop really saying anything about it at all.
One of the things that I have learned in Discord is finding the correct pause situation where people can actually start to speak and where I can speak and when I should stop speaking. And this is also something that's helped me out with my teaching career, public speaking as an example. And I suggest that everyone just try to use a little bit of due diligence in regards to not over speaking.
Yeah, but they can't wait.
I can't wait. I know that was intentional. No worries. But it takes practice and concentration. That's all it does.
To be fair, though, if anybody actually listens to the last 30 minutes, his entire argument was that it wasn't compartmentalized. But then he says he wasn't arguing for that thing. Let that sink in, the fact that he said that he wasn't doing the very thing that he literally did for 30 minutes.
I agree. That's what I heard.
I mean, come on, man. Why aren't we getting these people help, man?
I never said there wasn't compartmentalization. Stop misrepresenting me.
They did. It's on the playback.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's what everybody was arguing with you for, you goofball. So if you didn't say it, why would we be arguing? Oh my God.
Saying there is compartmentalization doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't launch a rocket.
But you did say that they're not, like, we can't speculate that they use compartmentalization. That's why I tried to correct you and say, no, they definitely do use compartmentalization. So maybe it was just the way you were portraying it. It came off like different than what you were actually trying to say.
No. My point is that you got to show how your argument actually means they didn't go.
The whole conversation we were having was about compartmentalization. And you said it's a weak argument based on the fact that you can't prove that they didn't go when the discussion was about compartmentalization.
Yeah, I said it's a weak argument, is my point.
Yeah, and we're saying it exists. You can say it's a weak argument. All right, that's fine. You can claim that all you want. But the conversation was about compartmentalization. And you were fighting us on that, saying you can't prove it. But now to say, oh, I meant you can't prove the outcome of the compartmentalization. Like, okay.
He's running with the goalpost, bro. This is the problem. This is the problem that I wish we could get moderation for.
I think we do have moderation for it, but it's just
I think we need to ban the mods.
Ban the mods? Why? What?
I'm fucking around.
Okay. So compartmentalization is basically every single company. It happens in families, like mom and dad and the children, or if it's a small electrical contracting business, yeah, there's compartmentalization. It's a real thing. It is necessary. But
bro, husbands and wives. Husbands and wives,
he was
bro.
mid-sentence, bro. You ain't even listening, dude. Andrew was mid-sentence.
It is a natural thing that occurs, and it's necessary in many different aspects of life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a business or the government. It can be with a family. So compartmentalization, yes, it's real. Anyone that thinks it's not real needs to seek psychological help.
Dude, I've had to mod you like 3-4 times already. Please, Cuddles.
Well, is that Andrew? You said you need to seek help. I work for an enterprise, okay? Apart from the business decisions, which is a different story, even that we are pretty much involved in a lot of them. There's no secret. I don't really get it when you say if you think that's not the case, then you need to ask medical help, you need to seek medical advice. What do you mean by that?
Compartmentalization. Are you just joining in?
No, I've been listening for a long time. I tried to getting it. I keep dropping into different meetings, so I kind of listening, meeting, listening.
Okay. So you're in and out kind of thing, which is fine.
No, I've been listening. I did actually add to this previously, saying, it's not necessarily the case. But anyway, what is the exact point?
I'll re-emphasize what I just said. Compartmentalization. Do you understand what that is? I have to
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do you think that doesn't exist in business or family?
Okay, we're talking about business, not family. Family is a different story completely.
No, it exists in both. I'm asking. Okay, so you say you know what it is. Do you think that compartmentalization exists? Let's start with the debate.
Yes, it does.
Cool.
But
does it? So Left Lane was trying to argue that compartmentalization in regards to NASA was not a thing that people would be able to use in regards to proving something.
I would say, sort of, I know where Left Lane is coming from. And my previous example was people do talk to each other, even in that departments. Yes, you are a builder. Someone come to you. Let's say you produce a certain tool or certain part. Okay, they will come to you and they say, "We need this part. We're going to need a part which is in such and such." Okay, so far so good. Okay, yes, you would not know necessarily what that part. Oh, that's not even true. You know what that part is for. You're not going to say, "Oh, I'm building a part which I have zero clue what it's doing."
That's exactly how it works.
No, it doesn't.
Literally how it works.
I literally gave an example earlier, and I said, the prime example was, I thought it was Elon. It turns out it's not actually Elon Musk. The consequence. So NASA was launching a rocket. It failed, and it's known to be the most expensive bug in the world because it was literally a bug in the code that caused the crash. Okay.
All right, that's an easy one, right? Do you think the guy that made screws for them, not that rocket, knew the code and understood the software? And knew where the software was going and knew where all the electronics was being set up.
No, the guy who's making that screw knew exactly what that screw was used for. Why did you mixing them together?
Something in, but past that, you think he knew, like, for the whatever, say it's like top secret technology they're using, right, in that rocket. It's not known for other countries, right? It's some specific to the rocket in NASA, right? It's their own, like, you think that the screw maker over in China or wherever they are knows where that screw, you think he understands the technology that screw is going to fasten and hold down to a panel? Or do you think he knows that, well, this screw's going to be used to hold something down?
Is fresh hot micing, by the way. I heard you, Pierre.
Because now you need security clearance. That's where I'm going with it. To save you time, I'm going right to security clearance with it.
Yes, I'm fully aware of security clearance. No, yes, I'm fully aware. But again, when you're making something, okay, a screw is prime example. Yeah, you're gonna have someone, just some cool guy sitting down, just putting this screw in a box. I don't think that guy would have a clue. Okay, someone slightly higher that person would say, okay, oh, this screw, oh, yeah, it's going to be used in the engine, or it's going to be used on the body, or it's going to use in such and such. Okay, that person would not necessarily know all the ins and outs of the rocket, but that person would know what that screw is going to be used for, or used what place. Same thing is for the software. If you write in the software, if you knew NASA, how rigid their standard is, you would understand.
But can you slow down? Because you just said two contradicting things. You're saying the screw maker wouldn't know, but you're saying, the screw maker's boss would know.
No, I didn't say that. So the guy saying like, no, that's not that. That's so there might. There's a cool guy sitting down.
Who's gonna know where the screw goes? What part of the person making the screw is gonna know where that
so
screw
what you're saying is, so if I'm making that screw, do I need to know all the ins and outs of that screw goes into what part of the rocket, what part of the body, and what that body is going to that, what the other part of that body is?
What thread count. You just need to know the thread count. That's it. And the material. And the tool you're going to use to carve the threads. Or whatever machine, That's what you need to know. But that's it. You don't need to know if it's going to go to a control panel, electrical panel, whatever. Like whether it's going to go to the plumbing department, it's going to go to the electronics or whoever. You get the point I'm making, right? You don't need to know any of that. Your boss doesn't need to know any of that. Shit, nobody at your factory needs to know any of that.
It works in construction as well because I'm a chippy. So if I'm doing a first fix, I go in and do the installation. I roughly know, but really and truly, I'm just reading off a drawing at where to put the noggins. And that's obviously with the knowledge because I'm there sometimes when the guy comes in. It's for the boards, the width of the boards. But you don't care. All you're thinking, I ain't got time to think, I wonder what this is for. I'm just look on the drawing, fix it, done.
Okay, so you said, sorry, I have to interject for a moment. I don't know what you were saying. A jippy?
Chippy, carpenter.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I have to put I have to put the boards for you guys for electrics and things like that, riser cupboards and, I don't care what goes in there. I just think, riser cupboard, it must be for electrics. So like if you're in a block of flats and it goes right through the flats. And then lo and behold, you come a couple of weeks later and bingo, there's 1,000 wires coming out of the riser cupboard.
Compartmentalization is very, very critical when it comes to certain organizations, such as hospitals, data centers, construction, things like that. Especially when, I mean, very much associated with when there's security clearances associated with that. So if someone's going to say that compartmentalization is not a real thing or it's not very important, well, I will tell you that you're wrong. And I can show you multiple examples of that because I've worked in these areas.
It is important. It is very important. Like, because of what I do have clearance and I know why I do have it.
Can I ask you then? You can decline to answer, but what
picking up, Andrew?
I think Andy cut out.
You didn't
say Andrew.
I cut out?
Yeah, you forgot your question.
Oh shit. I'm not sure what's going on. I was asking him what he does, and he can decline to answer.
I can tell you, I'm in world of IT.
Oh, okay. Information technology. Cool. Yeah, that's very, very much associated with this conversation.
So it does, I know. That's why I know a lot about these things.
Okay.
Been doing this for 35 years now, so yeah. I think I will know a thing or two.
Cool.
Yes.
Now, everybody on your team, does everybody on your team that contributes to your project know what you know or have access to what you have access to?
In that team, if you have clearance, yes, they do.
All right. So
No.
the teams you work with, they don't have your
They do,
access.
no, not necessarily, but they do know what we're doing, unless we specifically ask not to discuss. But again, that will be extremely, extremely, extremely like super difficult because they want to write some code. And it's very, very almost impossible not to let them in.
Right.
I would tell someone to write
you see the
code.
disconnect, right?
No, it's not a disconnect, but again, sorry, go on.
I was just saying, you see how there's like an instant disconnect from the teams, like that compartmentalized, like the different departments. Like the second you have different departments, you have compartmentalization.
Again, it depends what projects you work on. Like in the project I'm in, we got roughly 2,000 people. Within 2,000 people, we have people here and there. We got different departments. All in all know what we're doing. We have worked on a lot of important shit. A lot of important shit. We know what we're doing, okay? You're not officially advertising it. Here's the part you don't, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You're not officially advertising what we do. In that sense. Everyone knows who's the other. Everyone knows what everyone knows each other, and we know what we're doing without telling what we're doing. You know what I mean? If I tell you what company I work for, you can immediately guess what projects I have to work for. You see what I mean? So it's not like when we go out to a pub, when we're drinking, it's like, oh, so how's it going? I'm like, yeah, going good. You're still at the Wink Wink company. I'm like, yeah, I'm at the Wink Wink, working consulting for Wink Wink. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, so what are you doing? Oh, I'm working for such and such. Oh, there you go. Okay, no worries. You all know. There's no. It's super secret. A lot of it is super secretive. But again, asking your question again, if I'm asking my team to write some code, they are almost on it. They might not have access to the high level of data, but the code they write will be directly contributed to that restricted area, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And IT is actually a very specialized type of situation where I have a little bit of experience in IT, but for the most part, for large companies, yeah, IT, they have access to pretty much everything. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of those different organizations, like accounting, the CEO, engineering, they don't have access between each other. So it's compartmentalized. Would you disagree?
Wasn't that whole discussion coming from like rocket engineering and space industry?
Yep,
and in these parts, like where you're kind of programming a flight controller, or I don't know, rocket engine computer and stuff like that. If you develop these things, you will get the data from the test flight, and you will get the raw data to analyze your part of it. It's impossible, for example, to simulate that. Still today, you would directly detect simulated sensor data or something like this as a developer of these firmwares.
Even in an airport, there's so many restricted areas. Even if you've got the pass to go into most areas, there's places where it's totally you put your pass on there and you can't pass. And they're usually IT things and control rooms and things like that.
Snooze, going back to what you said, that was exactly my point. For instance, there's I'm sure there's another one. Ariane flight V88 was known to be one of the most expensive bugs in the world, purely because when they were writing code. So in NASA they have this holy grail when you write code, because of the optimization of what you write, you have to follow 10 rules, which is extremely difficult when you write, especially when you do C programming. That's that I have to say. Anyway, that aside, what happened was the gist of it was basically one of the places where they were doing some calculations. The integer they were using was a 16, which was have certain amounts, but again, the output, the numbers come out would bump into a bigger digits. Okay, therefore the calculation they were doing was wrong. That caused the rocket to crash. I'm going to find another one. I know there is another one because we did actually talk about this some time ago when it happened.
Yeah, I think that there was another one where it was a converting from. I wasn't sure if it was pressure or thrust from imperial units to metrics, which was which led to a big fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the one I forgot. I'm still pretty convinced this is one of the Elon one where. Oh, it was one of the first one when the rocket was trying to land. One of the one of the side flaps was miscalculating because the output number was, it was running into realms of 64-bit, but again, it was a small integer. Therefore, the number come out was wrong. So that's why the rocket started flipping suddenly in midair. That's the one.
Yeah, I think there was an integer overflow with 1632-bit, and there was the other thing I think with the units. But I had the assumption that it was one of the early Ariane rockets, which is basically a collaboration out of multiple companies worldwide, and there was some imperial unit conversion between the flight controller and the ejection or security unit or something like this. And at some point, it thought it's upside down or something like this, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, exactly, that's the one. But again, that shows, effectively, someone says, okay, these guys just write some code, but again, it doesn't get to use or it doesn't get used. This is a prime example. Someone's mistake cost millions, a lot of millions,
And I think also that there are many people, for example, that were involved with the James Webb Telescope, and of course there may be just people who are developing screws or hinges or something like this. They don't really know anything of how the final part will look like. But all these people who work with the mirrors, with the optical sensors, with the other sensors which work with the radio transmission, with the control units, for example, like the unfolding mechanism and so on, they would all knew if this is not actually happening afterwards or working in a vacuum, because you design all that for a particular purpose, and at least many representatives of these companies were there and got data from the first unfolding or the position, the flight data, and so on. The vibration data from the rocket to ensure that everything is still fine, the calibration data of the sensors, and. So I think I have the feeling, at least, that you're over kind of glorifying this whole compartmentalization, that basically no one except of the super inner magic core knows that this is just fake. I think that would be impossible to fake these things, because you have so many satellites there that do TV transmission. You have even just reporters who have to arrange their satellites regularly to a satellite to communicate with a host platform, or providers of these services. There are thousands and thousands of people involved, and directly involved, not just secondary involved or on the consumer side.
Well, that's where you go again. You go back to there's thousands of people. It's like, okay. And then you talked about so many stages in the build process, like where they would know it works in a vacuum. No, they wouldn't. Not unless they were the ones testing the equipment. Just because they wrote the code doesn't mean they're going to go to the testing room.
They have to use a
Like,
data.
why would you?
That's what you don't understand.
Yeah, they'll get the data, right? Sure,
Yes.
they can get the data, but it doesn't mean they have access. Like, they don't know, like, the testing. Like, yeah, sure, they might understand the testing methods, but what if you just gave them faulty data? Is that just something that can't happen?
No,
Yes,
you,
you
you
can.
can, as a software engineer,
It's
you can
impossible to do
identify the
that, even
difference
though they're
between.
isolated from the process. You're saying they can't be fooled.
No, as a software engineer, you can distinguish between simulated data and real data. The easiest would be real image data. If you give me a camera image from a real camera, I can already from the noise on the camera, I could identify the difference between a simulated or real noise.
You can
No.
speculate if it's
No.
real or not. So you know for certain if someone sent you a fake image, you don't even need like any software or anything to discern. You could just be like, nope, I can look at this thing and I know for a fact AI created this.
No, looking on the data, not
trained
looking on the data, not looking on the rendered or decompressed image. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
So the
about
metadata, you can take the metadata.
analyzing the raw data. And I'm talking about the raw data because they don't get some recompressed and uploaded to YouTube and downloaded and then transcoded again and whatever shitty stream. They get the raw data from the cameras, and you definitely can distinguish the raw data from the chip from simulated data.
So there'd be no way to fake it, you're saying, just by looking at the data or data.
The effort of faking it would again
that's not
involve.
what I asked. I said, could
I don't say it's impossible. Nothing is impossible.
All right. Well,
The effort of faking that
saying
would again. Wait a second. Hear me out before interrupting. The effort in faking these data and making it plausible to be real data for the original developers, you need at least the same amount of developers to develop these fakery data, and then again have the same amount of involved people that actually know that this is fake. It wouldn't help your case.
Yeah. All right. So they know it's fake. Do they know who's gonna be exposed to the fakeness?
Doesn't matter. They know they are faking a rocket launch so that it's absolutely plausible. Not only that the algorithms behave similarly, they have to know how the algorithms work with the fake data, plus how real data would look like so that the engineers cannot identify them. So that would even be more effort than just write a simulator.
Right. So you're saying they know that they created a fake rocket launch. All right. So they know they create an environment where they're going to simulate a rocket launch.
No, not simulate. That's exactly what I mean. If you ask a developer to make a simulated environment and create a physics engine where you can simulate rocket launches, it's something totally different than ask a team of developers to fake all sensor data so that it's indistinguishable from a real rocket launch. That's a whole new magnitude of development task. And you can't not tell them what they are doing because that's exactly the purpose of what they are doing.
And you need how many people? How many people for that?
As many, I would estimate as many as you need for the development of the rocket controller. It would be even more complex. In my opinion, it's even more complex to write that emulator completely according to reality than developing the flight controller. Because all that has to be emulated in real time and so on.
So
I think
you're just
it's
saying they
nearly
can't
impossible.
fake it, but they can fake it. It would just be hard to do, and you would need some amount of people that I don't know would need to be involved in it. I think with ill intent,
and someone was on a mission, they could accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, and they could fake it if they would so chose to. As long as they had the backing to do it.
So the NSA cannot hide the most like hideable information. So that what was again the guy who's now living in Russia? Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Snowden?
Yeah, Edward Snowden. You have a leak. Chelsea Manning. You have more leaks, and so on. Even the military and the NSA cannot secure the data. But you think for so many years people could
that's not fair.
hide. Wait a second. It's not only like that they are monitoring your internet. No, they are faking the whole reality, and there's no one who then releases or brings out all the data or some data dump from all this fakery. Not some dumbass on YouTube who talk about that. I mean, like seriously, like exporting.
Let me get in and
real
address
data.
at least one thing you're saying. Just one thing. You're saying the government didn't spy on you until Snowden told you they were spying on you.
No,
so just
we know there's a
logic
government
alone,
spy, but not the magnitude.
Your logic alone completely collapses on itself. Because you're saying it doesn't happen unless someone comes forth. Well,
no, that's not what I said.
It was happening before Snowden came forth.
No, that's not what I said. How long do you think
it is. It's
was the whole? Wait a second.
No
How long do you think were the whole internet communication of the USA being monitored before Snowden spoiled all that? What do you think? How many years?
Don't know.
How many years did they record
4 years,
everything?
could be 3 years, could be 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
10 years, I already think this is a stretch. Because 10 years before the Snowden leak,
how do you know?
There wasn't, because I was just telling you while you were interrupting me.
Yeah, you're saying my speculation.
No. Do you want to
speculation.
have the answer, or do you just be interested in interruptions?
Well, you're speculating, are you not?
No, I'm not speculating. This is my field of expertise.
Of when the government started spying on us.
No, but I'm an expert in computer techniques. So this is a field of my expertise. And I'm just giving you some insight that you are not interested in because you say la 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 nah. Okay, go ahead.
You can get mad all you want, but the fact that you're speculating and saying you're not speculating makes you look kind of foolish right now.
Speculating is just like guessing shit.
Yeah, so you understand that you're guessing that they started spying on us.
I wanted to tell you that I doubt the 10 years.
I
and also want to explain you why. I know that you don't care, but maybe there are other people here in the chat that do care and that don't want to be interrupted or listen to people that are constantly interrupting.
The conversation isn't about speculation or what you think or don't think. We weren't talking about that. We were talking about, like, you were saying that it wasn't happening because if it was happening, there'd be a whistleblower would come forth. And I said, okay, well, was the government spying on us before Snowden came forth, or were they spying on us before he came forth? And you're saying, well, I'm going to speculate. Now you want to carry on endlessly.
No, that's not what I said. You're a fucking liar and interrupter.
Did stop spying on us. And I'm saying, I don't care.
That's not what I said. You just want to strawman and gaslight other people here.
No, that's the chain of events of what just happened.
No, it's not. You're a gaslighter.
Okay, you just saying that? You are fucking awesome. Impossible. You don't hold true to anything you say.
Well, let him clarify.
Are you willing to let me clarify?
Does it have to be formal?
Okay, I'll try once. So the thing is, I just said I doubt that they were already recording the whole traffic of the USA before Snowden, because in my expert opinion, in the topic of data recordings and also network, as a network expert, I think that 10 years before Snowden, the technology was not performant enough to actually record the whole traffic. However, I also think that they did record people. But with the magnitude, they then continued or started recording the whole traffic. In the magnitude, the data storage that they needed. They needed more technicians involved, and there you are. Fuck you.
I can already address your point. Like, it's so
No,
simple.
you cannot, because you cannot listen.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, you just did it. You just did the same exact
No, I
thing.
did not make my point. You must
all right,
interrupt
they
all
weren't.
the time because you shit your
Oh,
pants that
God.
someone brings a proper argument against you.
I don't need 10 minutes of you referring to yourself as a specialist and saying my opinion is better than your opinion because I'm a specialist in this field.
It does it all the
I
time.
don't need 10 minutes of that. Right? I just need to understand where you're going with the argument. And I see what you're doing again is you're saying, right? Because I don't have access to this information or this level of technology, they didn't either. And because they didn't have, right? So you're just assuming your tech and your information or your access to information matches the NSA, which I just say is fucking, that's arrogant, right? At best.
No, back in the days, I was actually working for the German government and for German security services with these technologies, and therefore I had the information of what was technology that was state of the art and what was possible and what was impossible, because we were working on these edge technologies, and you don't know shit.
Yeah, so we know that's not true, right? We know for a fact that's not true because we know the NSA and the FBI, right? We know they use different tech, right? We know they have different levels of surveillance. We know that for a fact. They even admit it in front of Congress.
No, they use the same hard disk that everyone else is using.
And the FBI
they use the
different
same
than
network
CIA
technology as everyone else is using. It's just
and
bullshit that they have super
their
magical
surveillance
technology.
is at a different level. They have access.
Of course, it's on a different level because they invest way more money, but they had no magical data storage back in the time.
Right. So all three of these people compete in the realm of surveillance, but you know their level of surveillance, even though you're not part of these organizations. You can sit
and
here
you
and
just
tell me.
say nah instead of listening.
No, you're just saying I know because my opinion is true. That's what you're doing. You're not substantiating anything other than putting forth your opinion over and over and over.
I said
then you want
I
me to listen
know
to you talk
because
for 10
back in the
minutes about
days
your
I
opinion.
was working for the government.
Yeah, you were working for the NSA with Snowden clearance. Let me just put doubt on that checkbox.
Yeah, and that's not what I said. And you're again strawman and twisted the words of somebody else.
Well, don't insinuate. Don't try and like shoehorn that I work for the government when we're talking about something specific to do with the government. Because I've worked for the government too.
Got a bunch of plants in here.
I was going to say a couple of government agents up in here.
What's going on?
Government ops.
I gotta get paid. I need to get paid for this shit. Dealing with this nonsense.
Unbelievable.
I got too much of a problem with authority to be doing the whole government thing.
1 minute you're working for a camera company, next thing you're embedded in government. High security.
I don't know. I don't like that argument of if there's no whistleblower, it can't be true. It's like, where do you put the start date?
That's the whistleblower fallacy. If there's not at least 5 whistleblowers, it can't be true.
Someone used Noah's fallacy. Were you here for that? What was the analogy he used?
The reification.
Yeah, but it matched the analogy he put out. Trying to rack my brain. Oh, treating an organization as if it's an entity. Treating an entity as if it's an individual or a person. Like the analogy you gave with the stock market. The stock market had a bad day. That's being fallacious because the stock market can't have a bad day. It's not a person. It's just something that exists. A corporation. And somebody did that. Like verbatim. I got a chuckle out of it.
Never seen a boat have a bad day?
Yeah. And then we got into someone said something. What'd they say? Oh, is that a coincidence? And that brought it back to an earlier conversation. Are we that fallacious that every time Noah brings one up that it's bound to come up? Are there that many fallacies being thrown around, or is there more to it?
That's why it's very important to, like, when you are going to make an argument, to formulate it, to have the proper form, so you don't end up in that scenario.
You get this is all argumentum ad ignorantum. Argument from ignorance, speculation with no evidence, drawing conclusions based on that. It's an argument from ignorance.
That's just crazy to say, Leflin, because you agree there's compartmentalization. I think the whole room agrees there was compartmentalization. And they're saying, so therefore, we can't know exactly all the ins and outs of it because we have this thing called compartmentalization. But is your claim we have compartmentalization, but we can know all the ins and outs? We know right where this thing ended up. We know right where that screw ended up. We know how many threads are on the screw, and we know where the screw is right now.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we didn't go to space.
Doesn't mean we did.
Yeah. So that means you know right where it is. You're saying it's definitely in space.
I'm making no claims.
So can you provide the GPS coordinates
I
of
didn't
that
make that
screw,
claim.
please?
Don't misrepresent what I said. My statement was very simple. It doesn't mean we didn't go to space.
And it doesn't mean we did, right? It goes both ways, you would say? Like it doesn't prove anything?
It's not my argument.
So
Well, you said there was a bunch of
did?
speculation going on, didn't you? So if there's a bunch of speculation, can you point out exactly what it is? Because so far I feel like all I've heard, and I've been in here for like maybe 2 hours, is people just saying, yo, there's compartmentalization. Didn't even get into departmentalization.
But can you specify why that means we didn't go to space?
Why that means we didn't go to space? I think I heard even Piezo in here earlier saying there's no issue to send pieces of metal into the sky.
Well, that's a start.
They shot a ton of rockets this weekend, like the most I've ever seen. and we were in the Bahamas, and you can literally watch them going down into the horizon. And there was plenty of visibility and everything. So I don't know. I see them going up and then going back down. That's just what I see.
Yeah, I have to offer you some validity to that perspective, but that would mean that those rockets are coming back down to the surface somewhere, and if we could catch that happening, that would be good.
Yeah, definitely. That would be insane to see. I know I see the boosters fall off of it and they just fall straight down, but they look like they're like hundreds of miles east of the Bahamas. So what are we talking about? What territory are we getting into if we're 100 miles east of the Bahamas? Do you guys know?
Yeah, that would. So if you marked at the point on the horizon where you first see the rocket, and then mark the point where that the booster comes down and disappears on the horizon, that knowing how far away you are and stuff, that could be. You could draw some conclusions on that.
Yeah, the only one I drew was, man, that was cool. And I think people are living off that conclusion. Man, that was cool. And they want it to be like super cool, like beyond their imagination of coolness. And so they make up this huge story. But do you know anything about all those rocket launches, Leflane? I haven't looked into it. Why they did so many this weekend out of Cocoa Beach?
No, wasn't even aware of it. I just, I know they launch it, weekly. It hits my YouTube feed, telling me there's a rocket launch, and then they show the filming of it and all that, but I don't know what exactly is going on. I did read where Elon Musk is putting out a third generation set of Starlink, but I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something to that extent. I don't know. It was just strange because I've never been out there. 4 nights in a row and 4 rocket launches: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Or maybe it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll check it out.
Does anyone on here use Starlink?
They do in the Bahamas.
I use it. I was just curious because I was going to let anybody who else knows who uses it check your email because they're offering a mobile device that you can take wherever. You can leave it on roaming for $5 a month, but even that comes with half a meg upload and download wherever you are. So it's like you have your home base and a mobile device to take with you in your car.
Well, don't you get like kicked out if you're in an area where the other people get more service? or like have home services. So it's rough if you use that one, right?
It'd be more like, camping, all that kind of stuff. If you're in zones that don't have service, it'd be useful. I told them, yeah, send it to me. I guess it's now included in every Starlink home package. So anybody who's already had the home package should have an email where they can just claim their device.
Yeah, you got to like switch subscriptions if you want to go use it, right, or something.
No, you can pay the extra. It's $50 a month if you only get that, but if you already have the home thing, you get 50% off its service price. So it's $25 a month for like 50 gigs of data, like the same way you'd use like a Verizon hotspot device or something. But you can leave it in roaming for $5 a month added to your bill, and even though it's roaming, it still offers half a meg upload and download wherever you are.
What do you mean with half a meg? Like 500 kilobit?
Yeah.
Up download, half a meg?
Yeah, half a megabyte.
That's not much.
That's not too bad either. That's enough to stream YouTube. That's enough to stream Pandora, check your emails, even have a
With 500,
call.
with 500 kilobits, it's enough to stream?
Yep.
I mean, it's long time ago that I had so few internet, but okay.
Yeah, because the half a megs back in the day, AT&T would tell you half a megabyte, but in reality, it was like you were getting like 128 kilobytes. It wasn't an actual half a meg.
No, I know what actually half a megabyte is, or megabit.
Yeah.
I mean, half a megabyte is 4 megabits per second. So, but 4 mbits, okay, would be pretty tight for streaming.
Yeah, when I had before we switched to Starlink, we had HughesNet, and after our 10 gigs a month would run out, we would be dropped to like 0.3 megs, and that was fine for me and my wife to use YouTube, no problem.
0.3. Oh my dude, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's what almost every service provider, when you go to reduce speeds after you've used your allotted data, that's the speed it goes to.
Oh, you can bypass that. They can't throttle it. They don't throttle it if you know how to bypass it.
Huh? Didn't know you could bypass the throttle.
Yeah, you just need unlimited talk text. Well, that's the only way I know how to do it.
But you still get throttled.
No, you don't get deprioritized on the networks is what happens. Like usually what happens is you use the same network, right? And then you have what your normal prioritization, unless you're business class. And then you're always like prioritized. So your traffic is like, yeah, come on through, And when you use Verizon, they just throttle you. They just deprioritize your signal. So it's like you're gonna wait if there's traffic.
Interesting.
And they're just like, yeah, they'll trickle you through.
Yeah, like when I was on, like, even for HughesNet, like, let's say downloading something on Steam or something, the first like week of the month, of course, and that data was high, 10 megs, it would go at like 5 megs a second. But then when it was throttled, 300 kilobytes, would barely touch past like 360 kilobytes. But I mean, anybody from the day of dial-up should be like, that's not even really slow,
The days of AOL.
Shit. Go
How
get
much
your
is DSL in
AOL
your area? DSL is going to give you a better service than that.
Well, yeah, I'm in the boonies, the boonies.
Yeah, but you have phone lines, right?
No, I'm in the boonies.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like when they like I went for Viasat. I went for like the cheapest satellite internet at first. I ended up having to go with HughesNet and their J1 satellite or whatever, because the other companies would come out and they'd set it up, and there's this little hill in the southern view, and they'd say, well, that hill is blocking all the satellites, all the views of the satellites, and only HughesNet J1 sits a little bit higher, which is funny because you look into it, and based on where HughesNet has this one antenna, it sits at an elevation that on a flat plane looking straight south would be just about there above that little hill to the south. Yeah, so it's funny because the reason they couldn't hit the signals was because all those other companies, their antennas are just a little bit lower elevation to where they can't get, they're not seen by the dishes.
That's odd. Why would they wouldn't just relay it from a tower?
Mm-hmm. Mm. But Starlink so far has better service than any service I've ever had in any town. I mean, I'm seeing like 30 megs download. Like, it's fucking insane.
I don't know. I never really noticed much of a. I didn't even notice much difference from 250 to a gig. Like felt like the same to me. Everything was just snapping the fingers.
Remember the first time I experienced a meg, like 1.2, 1.3 meg speeds in college. That was mind blowing. And the speeds now, like it's like snap of the finger. It's like yeah, it's crazy for it to download a 20 gigabyte file and it take what, 8 minutes or so? Not even like 4 minutes. Oh, crazy.
A lot of dead air.